Happy Monday, everyone. Today I'm speaking with Lewis, who's an empowerment coach. And the topic for today's discussion is the missing link to getting what we want, or the missing link to achieving our goals. Because often we have this vision, we want to get we want to achieve something, no matter what it is, whether it's in our professional, personal lives. And then we take all the right actions. We put a lot of efforts and invest energy and time into it, but yet we fall short when it comes to achieving our goals. And over the years, I've met so many people, and actually, I'll quickly just want to share a story before I jump into this. I remember when I used to train for a marathon, I used to train with this guy who was an amazing, amazing runner. When we ran half marathons, he'd always like leave me behind. He's like, cheers, Lena, I'm out of here. But yet when we ran marathons, he just couldn't push past like a certain mile, no matter what he did. And it like was so frustrating for him, right? So, and that obviously it plays in all areas of our life, whether it's personal, professional, health. And this is what we're exploring today. Why is it that we can spend so much time, so much effort, so much energy, taking all the right actions, doing everything we can, but yet not achieving what we want? So, Luis, I know you and I spoke about this in quite detail, and tell me, from your perspective, what do you think is that missing link?
Oh, you could go down a real rabbit hole with this, but I think one thing that a lot of people tend to forget about is what's going on up here creatively. And there needs to be a specific alignment between what it is you're trying to achieve, how you can visualize that goal, and obviously how it makes you feel. Because if it's going to feel stressful, you're not going to want to achieve it. If you can't visualize yourself achieving it, you're also going to put a block in front of you. So amazingly, a lot of creativity is involved in goal setting, because you have to really be able to perceive what it is you're after, see yourself doing it or achieving it, and then believing that that is already a possibility, it's already happened. So there is a real crucial link between your creativity and your imagination and your goal setting achievements.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, imagination is everything. I know also from my life, whether it was in my personal or professional life, especially in the last couple of years, what I've noticed is that effort for me does not work anymore. Whereas before, maybe let's talk about 4 or 5 years ago, I could really exert willpower and do things and strive and really work hard, and something will eventually shift. Now it's very different. And I found that by tapping into my imagination and getting into alignment with the vision, and just like what you said, putting an emotion behind the vision, is that what brings my goal into fruition faster. And the example I used of the marathon is just because Serena Williams, for some reason, popped into my head. And I know she often talks about that visualization process that she practices with her coach, or at least she used to practice. So when it comes, I just want to like kind of go a little bit into, maybe I wouldn't call it science, but yeah, the science behind imagination. The reason why it works is because it really helps imagination, right? I'm talking about imagination, why it works, because it helps us to bring those unrelated ideas together. And then what it does, it actually imprints them into our subconscious mind. So imagination is like a gateway from our conscious to subconscious minds. And our subconscious mind doesn't really know what's real and what's not real. And yet it's responsible for pretty much everything that we create in our lives. So by imprinting our imagined reality into our subconscious minds, we then give our subconscious mind to go ahead and to create the reality we want. Is that kind of you understanding how it also works?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you can kind of reset anything within your mind. So when you have a thought and an emotion attached together, the two can solidify and become such a strong belief within you. So if you take, for example, children, when you say to a child, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? They might say, I want to be a spaceman, I want to be a policeman, I want to be a politician, I want to be a superstar. You don't say to them, well, that's just a rubbish idea, get that out of your head. You encourage them, you buy them the fancy dress outfits, you play games with them. They are so astute to visualizing it. And when you speak to a lot of these people like Serena Williams and maybe Justin Bieber and people like that, they will all say they had a dream from an early age. They could see themselves doing this thing. They could see themselves on stage. And when they got people to actually support that vision and support that imagination and keep saying believing in it, that belief suddenly becomes a reality. So you have to emotionally engage with it for a start, and then combine that with the thought that this could be a reality, and that combined with that constant visualization then becomes your reality. So it is so closely linked between each step, and that's when you get into full alignment. That's why they say, you know, work smarter, not harder. It's engaging. You know, we've got this amazing brain, and they always say we only use about 10% of it. So that other part of the brain that we're not accessing, just think how phenomenal your achievements could be if you really started to work within your imagination.
Exactly. And what I find when I do like my visioning process is that I get actions, or I get, I don't know if the word guided, or I get ideas that are more aligned really with my goal, right? Because typically what I used to do is I would take a lot of busy working actions. And I thought the busier I am, or the more I
Yeah.
do, the faster I will get into my goal.
Mm.
And as we all know, that busyness does not equal productivity, but alignment does. So when you then start tapping into this creative faculties by enhancing, by building your imagination, instead of just being constantly busy and doing something, striving towards achieving something. I'm not saying you can't, we absolutely can. It's
Yeah.
just sometimes we tend to overwork ourselves, to become too stressed, even physical illness manifest. I personally
Mm-hmm.
had 3 burnouts, like energy burnouts, where one time I remember I forgot how to type. I like literally, it was like my memory was wiped out. I couldn't type. And that's what often can happen.
Yeah.
And you still miss your goal, right? Because you don't engage those creative faculties that we are all given. And it's so easy, isn't it? It's so easy. And it's not even
Yeah.
easy, it's just fun, because you really start playing what would happen. And if I did this, and like, you know, and you can just like create like a whole story in your
Mm.
head.
Yeah,
But
if you think of, like, I always kind of compare it to, it is the domino effect, because we're programmed to chase that good feeling. That's why fitness and endorphins and, you know, anything that gives you that natural high releases the serotonin in the brain. We want more of it. That's why, you know, certain things become addictive, because they make you feel good. The brain wants to chase more of it, the body reacts to it. So you have that domino effect that when you're really tapped into your imagination, one idea leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. And the more good feeling you generate, the more you want to chase that idea, the more you want to go towards it. Whereas if you hit something that doesn't feel good, naturally you're just going to be disinterested and recoil from it. So that kind of whole imagination just unlocks so many more doors, because you're not restricting yourself. You're going, wow, that was good. Oh, like you say, inspired, like guidance towards something. You think, oh, maybe I'll go and speak to that person. Maybe I'll learn about that. Maybe I'll study this. Maybe I'll go to that place instead of this place. Before you know it, it's just a whole world has opened up.
yeah, but then we also must be very careful not get into this trap where we just imagine, but we don't do anything with it, right?
Oh,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
and
All
that's what
those
I was
steps have
gonna,
to be followed up. Yeah.
yeah, and that's what I was my second, like, I guess, other part of the conversation was then what is the difference between imagination and a fantasy? Because so many people, so you're just living in a fantasy world. And I don't know about you, but earlier when you
Yeah.
were talking about children, like my imagination, I used to have this craziest imagination. And honestly, every single thing I've really given my power and attention to has come into my reality. I can't think of a single thing, even the games I used to play as a child, which made no sense at all, they happen in my life, and I can write a whole book on it. So I'm not going to go into it. But what is the difference between fantasy then in imagination?
Well, I mean, that could be interpreted different ways to other people. How I would interpret it is that with your imagination, it's based on a feeling and a trust and a knowing that that's where you're meant to be. If it's
Mm-hmm.
a fantasy, it can be just an idea. Like, I might want to be a spaceman. I might be you know, I'm fascinated by space, but actually deep down, I don't have a desire to go shooting off in a rocket anywhere. Just the same as, you know, I love animals. I've got a dog myself, but I don't want to be a dog trainer. No matter how much I love them, that would be a fantasy. It's kind of like the ideal. It's something that is tangible, but you don't have a burning desire for it.
Exactly. I
Whereas
was going to say it's not fueled by that burning desire, right?
exactly, and that's the
Yeah.
key. That's when you've got that desire for something, you kind of need your imagination to set the spark to start going, right, where do I go? How do I make this happen? Because you've got that drive for it. If it's fantasy, you just don't have the desire to make it happen. I used to have a fantasy about, selling out arenas, singing pop songs. I can't really sing that well. So, and I didn't have the desire to do it. So I'm not going to go out there chasing to be like the next, Beyonce. But
Beyonce.
I do have, yeah, I have, I had a burning desire to be a comedian once. I had a burning desire to do all these other things. And I did try them. I had the inspired action to go and actually do these things. Once I did them, I then realized, actually, I quite prefer this. And then it leads you down a different path. So, yeah, you have to use that inspired action based on your imagination.
Yeah, I mean, the way I would also just add a little bit more to it is that imagination can literally stay a fantasy unless we act on it. And often when we, let's say, imagine something, your action could be go for a walk. And you're
Yeah.
like, this is bonkers. Why would I go for a walk? I've got a meeting in half an hour. And that happened to me. I was like, just, imagining certain things, and that I found the solution to the certain challenge. And literally my inspired action was to go for a walk. But the thing is, when you take that action, even though this monkey mind goes, it makes no sense, it's absolutely stupid, why are you doing that? But if you override that program and you go for a walk, in my case, then it led me to a proper inspired action where I came home and I knew from the walk and I knew exactly what needed to be done. And I mean, that saved me, I don't know how much time. Well, I was sitting and ruminating in my head for weeks, and that was just a few minutes. So often, we just don't trust ourselves to act on the ideas, because when we start really tapping into this creative faculty, the ideas start coming to us. And the most important thing is to act on them without, talking ourselves out of that. So that's how I would just define, kind of highlight the difference between fantasy and imagination. So imagination needs to be fueled by desire, and it also needs to be followed by inspired action. Otherwise, it's just going to remain in here and not
Yeah,
materialize.
definitely. I mean, even like the years that I was a florist, I could have gone as far as you could get with floristry. I had the skills, I had the contacts, I had all of the things that I needed necessary. And the fantasy is, oh, I want to, create all these fabulous designs that you see a lot of these famous designers doing in these London hotels, working for celebrities, doing all these amazing weddings. And I had that fantasy of thinking, well, one day I could do like something for the royal family, or maybe I could do this, maybe I could do that. But I didn't actually have that burning desire to follow that action. I went as far as I wanted to go in my career, and then the desire suddenly went. I decided I wanted to do something else. So yeah, without having that real action in mind, it will remain fantasy. That's it. Simple.
Yeah, and it's also, we need to understand that sometimes, we've got it, let's say we want to do certain thing and we got this desire, burning desire. And like you said, I think earlier, when we act on it, we realize actually that might not be a path, and then it shifts. And that's absolutely fine, because by taking these actions towards something you thought once was your desire, you will eventually get onto the right path. And that's how you can, you can accomplish, so many goals. And I mean, that's how I literally train myself towards running ultra marathons and successfully finishing and even winning one of them. But I wasn't actually aware of this process I was doing subconsciously. It was just obviously somehow running in the autopilot behind it. So I just want to bring this to the close, unless you've got anything else to add on this.
No, not really. I'm just thinking of all the fantasies that I've had that
Okay, no, let's keep it professional. So anyway, guys,
yeah.
see if you enjoy the conversation. And
They
you
were
do have
clean
a burning
fantasies. They were clean fantasies. Don't worry.
and you do have a burning desire, you've got a goal, something you want to achieve in 24, whether it's to run a marathon. I don't know why I'm stuck on marathons today. Whether it's progressing your career, grow your business, speak on more stages, definitely come talk to me about that. No matter what it is, Lewis and I actually running together a free masterclass on a 9th of February at 1:00 p.m. time, UK time, and 8:00 in the morning Eastern time. And the topic of this masterclass is the key to achieving your goals is not what you think. So we're going to break down 5 keys. Today we briefly went into one. So imagination is one of the keys. We're going to break down 5 keys on how you can easier and faster accomplish your goals, even if you haven't managed before. So we'll put the link to register for this masterclass below, and we hope to see you there. Thank you. Thanks, Lewis.
Thank you.